Hello and welcome to another episode of High Point Music's Tone Zone. I'm Lewis, and in today's episode I thought it would be fun to show you both a Rat by ProCo and the DS-1 by Boss. And the reason I wanted to show you these two together is because they are probably considered fairly equal as far as people who've used them go. They're both very, very popular in their own right, and they both came out at almost opposite ends of the planet and almost the same time. They do share some circuit topology. Now you can't get away from avoiding some parts of a circuit. There are some things that only do some things, so every pedal is going to have a little bit of something similar in them. These two use different chips, the tone controls are different, and the response can be quite different. So I just wanted to quickly show you the difference between the two, particularly if you're into that alternative, rock, grunge, that kind of sound. This is probably a pretty cool comparison to have a listen to. So let's jump in and see what it sounds like. I'm playing my Fender Stratocaster, my bridge pickup to my neck pickup. Great. Now I'll start with the Rat just to dial in its lowest of the overdrive stage. So let's just turn that one on. And you'll hear when this distortion knob is all the way down, we actually don't get much signal coming through the circuit. It does choke it off a little bit, which the DS-1 doesn't do, but let's just dial that up till it makes some noise. Looks as though that's about the 830 to 850 kind of mark on the knob. So pretty cool low overdrive sound. Let's jump across to the DS-1. So you can hear that the DS-1 is more distorted. It's not quite as lower level overdrive, but the Rat does sound a little bit thinner. So I'm going to turn the distortion up on the Rat a little bit. So to here at the moment, to my ears, that's pretty similar in distortion level. A little bit of neck. Similar enough. Let's push our gain controls up a little bit higher. I'm going to start with pushing the Rat first. That's what I'm going to aim for. So we've got the Rat, let's just dial the DS-1 up a little more. Maybe a little more than that. So going to that little bit more gain where we can get into some palm muting territory, you'll hear the tonal differences between the two. The Rat's a little bit more present than the DS-1 is. Now the DS-1 has a fairly standard style tone control in it, whereby when you dial it all the way forward, it cuts bass, when you dial it all the way back, it cuts treble, and in the middle, it cuts a little bit of both. I've got it set there very specifically, so it's the most even of frequency response. You can watch DS-1 review videos until the cows come home. We've got a couple on our channel. You can check those out if you haven't seen one before, but I thought that was a good baseline to go to as far as the tone settings are concerned. I'm not cutting any treble from the Rat. I am just leaving it open and letting my guitar harmonics come through. But you'll hear that DS-1 seems to have a little bit less mid-range than the Rat at these gain levels. That's handy to know, because if you want that really bright present sound, maybe the Rat at this point is a good option for you. And if you want that chunkier, heavier, maybe more modern style sound, where the mids are a little bit more scooped, or they sound a little bit more scooped in the mix, a DS-1 is probably a cool choice. Let's push our gain controls up. We'll go to about that 2 o'clock position and see how they compare to each other from there. So starting with the Rat, it's going to go... I'll go to that 3, I think. Oh no, that 2 o'clock works. And then to the DS-1. So again, you can hear those tonal qualities coming through, but we notice that the distorted signal of the DS-1 still allows for that palm muting sound, whereas the Rat is getting pretty fuzzy and starting to top out. It's starting to get that compressed sound, almost like an amp sagging, where the distortion simply can't go any higher, and that's what's creating that flubbiness in the bottom end. So let's do a little bit of palm muting between the two and show that a little bit better. So starting with the DS-1. Over to the Rat. Yeah, the Rat is very fuzzy. I do find it hard to hear the individual notes at that gain level on the Rat. I know you can get that type palm muting at a lower gain range, but the DS-1 sounds pretty amazing. So as far as that crunch tone goes. So let's just push the gain to the absolute maximum, and then we'll be able to have a better idea of where everything sits in the grand scheme of things. So the Rat's only going to get fuzzier. Let's just jump over to the DS-1 and crank that gain control. So it doesn't get fuzzy. It's a pretty good pedal for that distortion sound. It maybe doesn't do as lower overdrive, doesn't do the change in tone because it doesn't get that lower overdrive as the Rat does, as you would have heard around this 830 kind of position. But because its gain range is less, the 270 degrees of motion of the potentiometer gives you a more finite control. Now, if you're changing guitars, but maybe even just a backup guitar, or you like playing a Strat and a Les Paul or a hollow body, that is going to be a pretty good thing to have, because sometimes that little bit of a difference is all you need between feedback or usable amount of gain. So I can straight away hear that the gain range on the DS-1 is finer, but some people will prefer the versatility of the Rat. So let's go back across there. We're going to go back up to our most cranked position, and pretty much like the last setting, we're losing quite a lot of definition in our palm muting. If we just roll my volume knob off, you can hear that maybe one or two position markers on the knob, which you can't see because I've got tele knobs on my Strat, but it feels as though it's about 2 movements on the knob to get the difference between that kind of fuzzy sound and that tighter palm muting sound. If you've got a Rat on your board, that can be pretty versatile. You've just got to know to back your volume control off. The trade-off is that other effects in your signal chain will be affected by this change of volume. So you're going to have to think about maybe which one of those is the best for you if you can't fit both on your pedal board. So I'm just going to show a little bit of lead work now at these higher gain levels. I'm going to start with the Rat, and that'll give us a pretty good idea of where we stand. So the Rat. Back to the bridge. So again, it has that nice thick lead tone that I really like. A great quality in any distortion pedal. I'm sure regular watchers of the channel will have heard me talk about that before. It's a sound I go for all the time. That neck pickup with the distortion cranked to get that violin, like what I would refer to as the Gary Moore or maybe Slash kind of lead tone. So let's jump over to the DS-1 with its distortion setting also cranked and hear that lead work. I've got my neck pickup on. Straight away, I don't get quite that violin-like thick notes to my playing. I find if I use my finger instead of my pick, we lose a little bit of that treble response, and you can hear that come through. So pick, fingers, pick, fingers. It's not a huge response, but just dulls the attack of those notes down a little bit. Let's go back to my bridge. Where jumping between the pick and the fingers isn't quite as much of a big difference as with the neck pickup. I think when the neck pickup is on, you're at that point of no return as far as your treble response goes and the very end of your plectrum. So that's the DS-1 and the Rat. So my findings would be that the DS-1 has a finer range of gain. It's not as versatile. I don't think its gain control goes as low to get those overdrive tones that the Rat does. It has a much better palm muting sound. If you're into classic rock, you know, your AC/DCs, that kind of great Marshall in a box sound, you're probably going to find more use with the DS-1. If you like playing more grunge or alternative styles, this definitely does that palm muting sound, but you're going to have to really learn where your gain control goes or manipulate that volume control on your guitar to get the same sound. So 2 similar pedals, but they do sound pretty different in their own right. So worth checking them both out. I've been a user of a DS-1 for a very long time. I've only kind of just come across to the Rat, but I think they share some pretty good qualities between them. If you could fit both of them on the board, I would be very envious. But you could definitely swap between the two depending on the gig, depending on the guitar, so be sure to check them out. If you're interested in picking one of these up, you can do so by following the link below. They are both still in production. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to give us a like, a share, and subscribe. If there's something you want to see, leave a comment or shoot us a DM on Instagram. We do love to hear that feedback. If you'd like to help us to put out as many good quality videos as possible to help contribute to our studio costs and equipment hire and editing costs, you can become one of our Patreon members. The link for that is also below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode.